Welcome to the Build From Here podcast. On this episode, I'm so excited to be introducing you to an amazing Cornerstone member, CGA member Ted Turner. Ted has been really amazing in the CGA community, and we'll get deeper into that as we go. But one of the things that I love about Ted is that he just knows how to make people feel at home, and you can tell that he does that within the Cornerstone chapter. He's the leader of the Augusta chapter, and you can just tell like he makes those people feel at home. And even when we're doing our other calls or just any other live, like you could see, he gets on there, he's able to connect, and just has a great experience, which is what we love to do at Cornerstone. We love to connect, share, and grow when it comes to chapters. And as far as training dogs, we love to train our dogs with confidence. But I think Ted exhibits all those traits. So I am excited to be bringing him on. This is going to be a special edition episode of the Build From Here podcast. Ted hasn't been on the Build From Here podcast, so we're going to kind of do a mini version of the Build From Here where we give a little bit of his story, and then we will actually want to dive into his most recent chapter event in Augusta, which will be amazing. So what we'll end up doing is do another chapter, another Build From Here call later where we kind of do the whole shebang, but we will give you a little background on him and go from there. So with that said, Ted, we're excited to have you on board and talk with you. Welcome aboard. How's it going?
Hey man, I really appreciate it. It's going well. It's been a good morning so far. How's everything going with you?
Good. It's good. It's, it was a little warm this morning already. I walked out the door. I was like, man, we're recording this in July. And so it's not as bad as it probably will be when August gets here. It'll be nice and hot in August. So outside of the heat, we're doing great, loving life, just doing the best we can and having a good time with the Cornerstone members. It's been cool to see all the new members come in lately. We actually had a member. I've got to shout him out real quick. He's a brand new member. He inspirational. I know he's going to be inspirational. He jumped in and he's in his mid 70s, and his wife is also in her mid 70s, and she just started hunting with him. So when I was talking to him on the phone before he was thinking about purchasing, he told me that. I was like, this is inspirational. Like, this is just so cool. So that's kind of one of the highlights of my past week was getting to chat with him and have him come on board. So yeah, but other than that, man, I'm excited to hear more about you. Before we dive into the chapter stuff, let's get a little more about you. Tell us where you're from. Give us a little bit background on Ted so all the people out there listening can know a little more about you.
Yeah, man. So I grew up I'm in Georgia. Grew up towards the coast. When I say the coast, a lot of people are more familiar with Savannah, Georgia, or Brunswick, Georgia. So I'm from that region. After spending quite some time there, going through childhood and through early teens, moved up closer to Augusta. Did that originally to try to go to college and then just ended up staying around, man. That's where I'm from. Background, with dogs came straight from hunting. My dad brought me up hunting. Funny, he took me out way before I can remember. I was probably 3 years old. He was a dog hunter, so they had a lot of deer dogs. So I grew up around a lot of dogs and a lot of hunting. And yeah, man, he was carrying me under his arm, running down the dirt roads. The stories they would tell me, he'd have a shotgun in one hand, a child in the other, and he's just running down the road chasing dogs. And so, anyways, growing up with that, and then getting into archery, and eventually, my love for dogs was there. Grew up with dogs, and we got into to bird hunting. Now here in Georgia, some of our biggest bird hunting, at least in my experience, is dove. So we do a lot of dove hunting, and it was pretty nice to see dogs that would go out and retrieve a dove for their handler or find a lost dove for their handler. And as a child, I'm thinking, wow, it's really hot out here. It'd be nice if the dog would go get that bird for me. So, fast forward years later, I got an itch to want to get into that and end up getting more labs. I grew up with a lab, and yeah, man, through that experience, end up hearing about the Cornerstone program and dove into it kind of wide open. I really loved everything that I was reading. Some of the videos that y'all were posting online, and then I reached out to several breeders, and every breeder I spoke to, through our conversation, they were like, "Have you heard of Cornerstone? Have you heard of Cornerstone?" It was everywhere that you looked. It was Cornerstone.
Wow.
So it was kind of a no-brainer to get involved with Cornerstone after that.
Man, that's so cool. It's, did your dad train the dogs or work the dogs? How did that work growing up?
So I'm not sure how he trained the dogs because he managed deer dogs. Now with the deer dogs,
Okay, okay.
I'm sure with deer dogs he definitely trained them. A lot of that training is natural. It's more of a natural ability from my understanding. I was a child, so I don't remember a lot of that. But I know they would take them out in the off season and let them run deer. And just kind of see how they track. They kind of ran as a pack. So that's where that came from. Now, fast forward to me getting my first lab. I don't remember the age, but I would say early teens. Might have been a little earlier than that. My dad actually had a friend that was a big time duck hunter, and my dad was talking with him about different types of dogs. And we had heard about a specific breed called British Labs and heard
Yeah.
about it from him. So, ironically enough, my dad went and got a British Lab, and the dog was so smart. I mean, he was an incredible dog. And I was a kid, so, I didn't know any type of professional teaching or anything, but me and the dog shared what I would consider a unique connection. It's like the dog could read my mind and I could read his, but it's like I guess we was just understanding body language. And so of course I didn't understand how to do a proper training with him, but I could teach him so much without it, any proper training. But anyways, so yeah, that was my first experience with the labs and how I kind of came to the labs and now fast forwards, I'm 34 now, so fast forward 20 years later roughly, and I'm definitely thrilled to be part of the Cornerstone because your guidance and the Cornerstone guidance and all the modules in the program, it's impressive. I mean, even it's so unique to me that I can watch you say, "Hey, here's what I'm experiencing with Violet." I'm like, well, I'm not going to experience that. My dogs have none of those tendencies, and I'm 2 days later, my dogs are doing exactly what Violet was doing. I'm like, man, I'm so glad to see that because I'd be lost if it wasn't for seeing Violet do it. Like for example, sometimes when Violet would try to run away from you, and I wish I could remember what module it is. It's in the 20s, I think, early 20s. Um, I think there's the 180-degree drills, and like you would toss one out and toss one out, and then you want to grab it and kind of run around. I was like, oh, my dogs wouldn't do that, and they never give me that trouble. And as soon as I did it, they run around, and I would have been lost if it wasn't
Wow.
for seeing what you were doing with Violet. So it's great guidance to follow the modules, and yeah, man. I mean, that's just the the Cornerstone program's just really been a lot of good guidance.
Man, I'm so happy to hear that for you. At the time when we were filming that, we were really questioning, like, do we really need to show all this, but we decided to do it, and I'm so glad we did because so many people have told us that they're really happy that we showed the authenticity, that we showed what training really looks like, and we showed you how to work through all those challenges, which is also why I'm excited about this podcast because we get to talk about one of the most authentic pieces of Cornerstone, and that's the community. Specifically, what you and I talked about on doing this episode. After I got off the phone with you, I remember this is maybe a week or so ago, a couple weeks now. I remember you telling me basically you were prepping for the chapter meetup for Augusta, and then I called you after, and you told me how it went. And I was like, "This is incredible! Like we've got to tell everybody. They need to hear this because what you were telling me was just absolutely outstanding." Before we do dive into like this chapter meetup, let's go back to chapters for you at where it started. Um, I would love to just know kind of your thoughts on that because a couple years ago or a year and a half ago, however long it's been now, we released kind of a new flow for CGA Chapter for the app. We completely rebuilt the app. Uh, Hold on one second. Never mind. There, I had a package there, but they dropped it thankfully. Last time they came in and they like reached over in front of the camera, was like, "You need to sign this." I'm like, "Okay, I'll sign this."
Hey, like you said, man, keeping it authentic.
Yeah, we really are. But I'll dive us back in. So anyways, yeah, let's go back to where chapters really started for you. And I would just love to hear that story because about a year and a half ago or so, we redid how we did Cornerstone. We actually built a whole entire new app. We kind of moved everything into a new interface because we have a vision for connecting people. And what we found that over the years is that the Cornerstone community is where it's at. Of course, the courses are great, but having people connect and be able to talk to each other, bounce ideas back and forth off each other was one of the most pivotal pieces that we saw in their success. So we wanted to take it a step further. And that's where the new app came in, and that's where the idea of chapters come in. So instead of just doing it in a digital format, now it can be in a one-on-one, in person, or in a group setting. So where did all that start with you? What was your first memory of chapters, and talk us through all that.
Yeah, man. Well, I want to touch on what you was talking about with the community as well. So, the breeder I had worked with was Shane Kendrick, and I think you know
Oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah. So, man, he was telling me, he's like, "Hey, look, when you get involved, if you decide to go with Cornerstone, he said the community is wonderful, and in some certain dog worlds, especially if you go to some of the tiling events, you might see where things sometimes might be a little clicky, or especially Facebook these days. If you get on Facebook, you'll see, hey, can you help me with my dog? And instead of getting help, there's 60 comments of, neutral to sometimes, or I shouldn't say sometimes, more often than not, negative. Cornerstone community is not like that. If there is a problem, no matter how small or how big it is, everybody's jumping in to help everybody out. And Shane told me about that, and I can say it's 100% true. It's very unique that you don't feel, I guess you say shy or worried if you post a comment into the group. So yeah, definitely the community is wonderful. But as far as the
Wow.
chapters, yeah, when you launched the chapters, I was there on the call with you, and you were telling everybody how you had the big announcement and you were going to do chapters for the regions, and I was excited because for me, training dolls, I was used to it to an extent, not in a professional. If I consider Cornerstone to be very professional, so not in the professional sense. So I've got that guidance now, but it was exciting. But I'm always by myself, and I know a lot of other guys are by themselves. And then when you go to these tiling events, like the HRC events, you see so many dogs and so many people, and it's like, how do you get that experience without going out and being in that, being part of it? So of course that's a goal, but in the meantime, when you're training, how can you recreate that? I'll say something real quick. I played golf, almost as a pro. We were doing tours in the region, so Georgia, South Carolina and stuff, and you learn quick like that. No matter how much practice you put in, until you can somewhat try to recreate that pressure, when you get to that type of pressure, it's a completely different animal. So it's the same thing I see with
Yeah.
dogs. You can train with your dogs, but then when you bring in one or two dogs, the dogs might get a little iffy. When you bring in a bunch of dogs and a bunch of people, we saw it like with my dogs immediately. We saw it in our chapter event that they were they were off a little bit, but it was in a good way because they quickly got their feet back under them. But getting back to the chapters, I was very excited to hear about it, and I was very excited to be part of one. And so I'm sitting here in Georgia, and I'm hearing about the chapters, and then I hear about other chapters coming forth. I hear about other chapters coming forth, and I'm posting like, "Hey, when is there anybody doing anything in Georgia?" And then somebody else would reach out. I wish somebody would do something in Georgia, and that just kept flowing for, I don't know, I'd say probably 2 months or close to it. And I was like, in the back of my mind, I kept feeling like it was maybe a little bit of a calling. I was like, I have a great setup for training. I can host plenty of people. I can somewhat make my schedule fairly flexible. So I was like, you know what, let me reach out to Josh. Let me see, if Josh thinks that I might be a good candidate for a chapter, because I would love for us to have a chapter, and here in Georgia. And you and I had that phone conversation, and you was very encouraging about it. And I told you, hey, my biggest thing is my plate it stays full, and I don't want to bite off more than I can chew and let other members down. And man, it's nothing like that at all. It's such an easy flow. I'm thrilled to have gotten the Augusta, Georgia chapter up and going, and I'm very happy just to be part of it in general. But yeah, man, once the chapters, like I said, started kind of popping up, and we got the Georgia chapter going, um, it all just fell right into place. It was nowhere near as overwhelming as I was concerned with it being. And everybody was very encouraging, and everybody was willing. All the members, as they kept coming on, they were very willing to jump in on calls, to give opinions and advice and ask questions. I mean, it's just you almost, even with the guys before you meet them, in the live calls, you almost feel like you've got friends there, like people that you've known forever, instead of just video call. And the same thing, as soon as we met in person, it was the same flow. They just we got they got out of the truck, we shook hands. 5 minutes later, it's like we all knew each other for life. It was the chapters in general has been a great success so far.
Man, I remember the first call, like when we were talking through, I was actually, I think my wife and I were going on like a short little weekend trip, and we were driving, and I remember when we got off the phone after, like she said he's gonna do a good job. Like she could just tell like you're passionate and excited, and sure enough, I mean, you've crushed it. But and one of the things, like you said, like you do have a full plate. So that can be like what we don't want for people is, and what we've said it from the beginning is, this should be one of the best parts of your week or day or however often you participate. There's no expectation or, all right, now that you've signed up for chapter, we're gonna put all this weight on you. You gotta go do all this work. We've never done it that way. The way we've always wanted to do it from the beginning was, hey, look, this is look, Cornerstone, the community, it exists. Y'all have seen it how it is. Like, we have a vision. We want to do is facilitate more of what's going on. And if y'all want to participate, you want to participate, you're more than welcome to do it and do it as much or as little as you like. And what we have found is it's the same approach that we take to the dog training too. We take to dog training, it's gets to, not has to. And so when it comes to the chapters, it's really gets to, not has to. We're not out here calling you and say, hey, you haven't met enough, and all that, because it doesn't matter. What matters to us is that you do it when you want to because you love it. And what we have seen from the fruit of that is that I think people do it a lot more, right? Because there isn't any pressure. It's just do it how you would like to when you want to. And I've been able to tell that from every conversation I've had with you. Like, the first conversation where we were talking through the logistics, what would being a chapter leader look like, talking through that. And I think a lot of people are skeptical on the front end of stuff like that because, like, man, what am I getting myself into? I don't want to, like, we all have busy lives. We've all got things we've got to do. We've got priorities, responsibilities we got to take care of. So we don't want to, we got to make sure that what we're getting into doesn't take over and, overtake the other priorities that we have. And so I remember talking through those things with you. And just when we got off, I knew I was confident. I was like, man, I'm excited to see where the Augusta chapter goes. And sure enough, it's been incredible since it launched. And you've done such a great job of really just leading the chapter and facilitating the concept of connect, share, and grow. It's pretty simple. That's all we're going to do: connect, share, and grow. If we do those three things, or one of those three things, at every single chapter event, then we consider it a success. And I've been able to hop on your guys' calls and just hear how everybody's connecting, and it's just so cool to see. So y'all are doing a great job. Let's talk through your first your first time leading a chapter call where you popped on and you did that. What was going into your mind, and how did all that go?
Yeah, man. So first, I was want to say, thank you, and as well. But with the first call, I'd even mentioned this to you as well. Like, I was like, hey, Josh, I'm somewhat, used to managing businesses. I've led a lot of things when it comes to archery or golf. My dad was a a leader of a hunting club. I was like, so I kind of grew up in that somewhat of a leader like position. But in the dog world, I don't want to be the little guy on the totem pole. I was like, this is new for me, and so I was nervous in that aspect. And but man, again, the community just lifts you right up. They don't look at it like, oh well, you haven't titled 5 dogs, so yeah, it was nice on that part. But the first call, I was prepping everything, trying to understand how to get through the app and making sure I had everything in line. And man, I was a little bit nervous. Like, I think there's a little bit of nerves there for sure. But I was excited. I think the nerves was excitement. And as soon as the guys started jumping on with the calls and everybody started engaging, we were going to set the first call up for an hour. And it's like in the blink of an eye, I look at the clock and I'm like, wow, we're 55 minutes in, and everybody's engaging. Everybody's talking, everybody's asking questions. To call an icebreaker, it was very much a good icebreaker. We broke the ice, and everybody seemed to be engaged and enthusiastic, and they were eager to say, hey, when are we going to be able to meet up? When are we going to do another call? So that first call was great, and it really kind of set the tone that, hey, this is going really well, and hopefully it just continues to grow, and it definitely has.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, and one of the approaches we always take is progress over perfection. We say it in dog training, and also on this thing. Um, we could always do things better. We can always learn and grow. But if we have found that if you take action and you start moving towards a vision, things start to just fall into place. And that's what I have seen from all the chapters. Not that every call goes great or everything's perfect, but you're just, when you do those three things, connect, share, and grow, and you're moving towards that, and it just seems to really take off. Well, let's talk through the journey of leading the chapter, because I know a lot of Cornerstone members listen to the Build From Here podcast. So this one's really for those that are out there listening, or I guess you could say for those on the outside that are not a member, that are just kind of peering in to see what's going on. But specifically, um, let's talk through this chapter leadership stuff. So how has it fit into your life, and what does all of that look like? And then I want to get to after that, we'll dive into your first chapter event. And so, but yeah, before we get to the event, how has the chapter stuff gone for you? What has that been like through the ebbs and flows of it?
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's like I said, getting to that first phone call was like, okay, you get into the app, you learn how to do some posts. It's very, very, very easy. The app that that y'all have built has been is it's very, very user friendly. So you get in there, you type up a few, comments here and there, or title, and let everybody know, hey, we're going to do a live call, and everybody jumps in. So that was wonderful. And then every event has kind of just built off of that. When we do the next live call, just do some just advertising. Hey, we're going to do another live call, and it falls right into place with me because. And I will say one thing, and I've talked to other guys. I felt guilty about it, and then I talked to some other guys that's training, and they're like, "Oh, I'm doing the same thing." Especially in the live calls, it's a topic that we cover. But I may be hammering out just training my dogs, because I'm working with two at the same time, and so I'm training the dogs. I'm training the dogs. Everything's going great. We're 6 weeks strong, and then all of a sudden something comes up, and I just take 2 or 3 straight weeks off. And then usually what happens, I take about a week and a half off, but then I want to do a little bit of catch up with other stuff, so I put the dogs on the back burner, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a little guilty about that, and I start coming back in. But now, holding this leadership role, I feel like it also gives me a little bit of accountability because I do not want to be slacking even more so with my dogs because if I'm bringing the guys out, I want to make sure that, hey, I've been hands on all the time. So I really like the fact that the leadership role has made it to where if I ever, put the dogs a little bit to the back burner, it's not back there very long. It's like, okay, hey, they've been back there for a few days. Let's bring them back, to the front. So yeah, there hasn't been any, stress that's been added in any type of negative way. I mean, doing the live calls, getting to meet the guys, getting to meet everybody when they jump on the live calls, has been exciting. Just everything about the chapter and the leadership roles has been positive. I mean, we've been going at it for about I think over a year now. I think you and I may have had that phone call about July of last year, somewhere around July. So I think we're about a year in,
Yeah.
and it's been a wonderful year. I mean, it's flew by, but very, very happy to for it all to be falling in place like it has, and thrilled to be part of it.
Man, that's awesome to hear. I mean, it is true, and that was one of our hopes is that, the community itself always helps people become better, but then once we start kind of facilitating community more, and we've got leadership roles, we've got basically you're helping people come along, we're helping you come along, and this cycle just starts creating this really elevating step. It's gonna elevate everybody's skills and help them become better trainers, without it being a heavy burden because it's fun. I mean, when you're sitting there talking about dogs, like you said, I mean, like these Built From Here podcasts, they go by like that, when we're talking. But when I'm just having a call with someone about their dogs, hearing about hunting, I mean, we could talk about that all day long because everybody has different experiences. And I mean, if you're remotely interested in waterfowl hunting or dove hunting and you interested in dogs, like you're gonna want to know what your buddy over there in 2 states over is doing because you wanna find out what type of hunting they do. Maybe you can learn from them. Maybe that can improve your hunting. I mean, that it's really just the tried and true model of community, and it's been incredible to see. So, um,
Yeah, I'll touch
let's
on that
talk
too,
about
Josh.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So even the guys, whenever they come on, I mean, to start with, you're just open discussion, talking about the dolls, talking about the program, kind of establishing what the chapter is going to be. But man, it's taken off now to where like we're all talking about hunting. We're talking about getting together and going hunting. There's even members in CGA that are several states from here, and we'll just randomly strike up a conversation, and they're like, hey, if you ever want to come up, north, for an example, come up and duck hunt with us some, and we'd love to come down our dove hunt. So, for those who do like to hunt, it's beyond just dog training. Like I said, the community is finding hunting partners, finding hunting buddies, learning techniques. So it's not just completely revolving around the dogs. There's a lot of good hunting conversations that take place as well. And I know over the years, because like I said, hunting's been a huge part of my life. I've made several friends and had a lot of long conversations about all kind of hunting stories. So it's hunting's a big topic.
Yeah, it's, man, it's so fun. I mean, we even yeah, Blair, who lives close by, he's been on the podcast before, and he participates in the Birmingham chapter. We had a hunt, last year. It was pretty special. It was fun to see his dog Gus getting out there. It was just a solid Alabama Southern wood duck hunt, and it was cool. Like it was a good time. It's not like we were out there in Kansas just smoking some ducks, but
Yeah.
just being out there, it was fun to go to some unique places and have those connections. I mean, went over there, spent the night late, and got up early the next morning, and we're barbecuing the night before, and then just having a good time. And that's what it's about: is connecting, sharing, and growing. And y'all have done that well from what I've seen. I mean, tell me more about your chapter. What's been some of the highlights for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, just feeding more off of the hunting, topics. You may have a little bit different experience, but from what you just said, good old Alabama, duck hunting, kind of wood ducks. Here in Georgia, it's the same thing. We get a lot of wood ducks, and it's wonderful to sit and watch TV, and you see the guys in Mississippi and all, and they get these huge flocks of mallards coming in, and it's like, okay, I wish that we had that here in Georgia, but for the most part, at least in my experience, you don't. But yeah, you kind of understand where I'm going with
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But yeah, man, you just start talking with the guys, and and they're like, yeah, this is what I'm seeing as well. And it's great that you could just during duck season, you might exchange a text and say, hey, there's a cold front coming through. What are y'all seeing with the ducks in your area? Because we're all within about a 2 hour, 3 hour circle of each other, and and you kind of get to build off of that, and yeah, help out with what's going on with the hunting scenarios. Um, but yeah, that's with the hunting thing's been a big topic for us, and I think that's what we're really thrilled about.
yeah. I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we train. I mean, most of us. There's some out there that train just to have a good working dog, and that's great too. But for a lot of us, we're out there training to hunt, and I mean, it's a way to extend the season, and it's a way to really build that rapport with the dog and the people.
Yeah, and
Well,
also build on what you were saying there, like Jim's one of the members, in the Augusta, and he titles all of his dogs, and he uses CGA, for building those dogs up for titles. So even people out there that's like, well, I don't hunt very much, but I want to title my dog. The CGA program is wonderful for that, from what I've heard, and so far with my experience, it seems right on par because that's my intentions as
yeah,
well as titling my dogs.
yeah. I mean, hey, training's training. Get out there, do it day by day, and you can make it happen. But yeah, we put some secret sauce into the 52 plus to make that happen. We made sure that you could do both.
Yeah.
Even though our primary purpose isn't for the hunt test, like our primary purpose is have an amazing, outstanding hunting retriever. But obviously, a lot of those skills cross pollinate and work together. What we'll talk a little bit about the first chapter meetup for you guys, and I'm interested to hear from your perspective, right? Because for those that are Cornerstone members that are looking at thinking about chapter meetups, maybe you've got a chapter, maybe you live far away, even out near the West Coast, and you just haven't had a chance to make it to Member Week yet, but maybe you've watched a few of the YouTube videos. I'm sure, I don't think you've made it to Member Week yet, if I'm not mistaken. So I would love to know what that process was looking like for you. Like, I know we talked a little bit about it building up, but just share with everybody what you were thinking about leading going into setting up this chapter event, especially not having been to the local Birmingham event or the big event that we hold.
Yeah, so just going into it, I want to make sure I could, because when I first, had posted, we wanted to do an in-person meeting, our first chapter meeting last year. But by the time we got the ball rolling, bird season had came in, and if you start trying to talk to guys about, hey, when do y'all want to do it? They're like, well, the weekend's here, and we're on hunting. So we kept kind of jumping that hurdle, and it's understandable. Everybody wants to prioritize the hunting opportunities. So we kept looking at it, and finally it was like, okay, well, we're going to wait till the season ends. So, we started, meeting back up on the live calls and trying to establish a date. But man, we worked with everybody on their schedules. Everybody was trying to be as flexible as possible, and we nailed something down. At that point, I had a couple of guys reach out, because I posted a pin to the field that we were going to be training in, and then the address. And that way, people could really pinpoint exactly where to go. And a couple of guys reaching out, and they were like, "Hey, I'm driving an hour and 45. Can't wait to be there." Another guy was like, "I'm driving over 2 hours. Can't wait to be there." And then I was like, "Okay." There's a little weight on my shoulders because I can't have these guys driving that far out and not having a good time. But it just like, with that first video call, stepping into the chatter, it all just fell right into place again. I've got a field that I train on. We've got a couple acre pond. Unfortunately, the drought that we've had here in Georgia has dried that pond up just a couple of inches of water. But yeah, we got the pond. We've got a small little dove field. It's my family's land, so we got a little small dove field that we normally plant. At this time, we hadn't planted it, but we got a little bit of growth. So I went out there with bush hog, cut us a couple of lanes, made a couple of tees in those lanes. We were stretching out almost 300 yards there. Went to the
Wow.
front field, got us 160-yard with high growth, and then I mowed us out a parking area slash an area that's kind of set up with the guys, just kind of do some intro with the dogs. And at that point, I dove straight into Cornerstone. You got the Retriever Connect, and I was like, okay, let's plug this in. AI is really helping out these days, so I plugged in. I said, okay, we've got this many guys. This is the kind of dogs they've got. This is where they're at in their training right now. This is where they are in the modules. This is how often they train. This is their goals. It spit us out a really good set of of like a little bit of a foundation of, hey, here's some guidelines on what you want to build for, for the day. And then we took that in and just as a group, we use it as guidance, and then we just kind of build on it on the fly as things, as a group too. Now that was really good. I reach out to the guys and say, hey, what do y'all want to do? And they gave a lot of good input. But back on the idea of getting that first one started, man, I was super excited. We're doing trying to advertise it on the app a lot. Just letting everybody know. I hate saying advertise. It's not really advertising, but you're trying to get the word out, and let everybody know, hey, this is
Yeah.
coming about. And but yeah, man, we set up, went out, like I said, mowed the field. A lot of people have the beach tents, the little canopy tents. So we set up one of those so we could put all the Momar stands under there. We have access to a portacool, which is a fan that you put some water in. It kind of makes it a little bit cooler. We set that up, and had everything set up for the guys. Man, they got there right on time, and everybody was really eager to get started. I was really eager to get started. So, from start to finish, from the time we nailed down the date, we nailed down the date about 7 weeks out in our live call, if I remember right. And man, when that date was coming around, I was excited about it, and it all fell right into place. It felt like a duck hunting morning, really. I was up at 4 a.m. getting ready to set up, because we're in Georgia. I mean, at daylight, it's sometimes pushing 80 degrees almost. I think it was almost 80 at daylight that day. So we all agreed to start at 7 a.m. And so I got up at 4 and started setting up, and I was finishing setting up as the guys started pulling up, and yeah, man, it just kind of really set the tone for a good day.
Man, that's incredible, and I love that. I love just and everybody shows up on time, they're fired up, they're ready to go, and that's where that whole gets to versus has to comes in. I remember when you sent me what, the Retriever Connect coach had sent you, I was like, "Man," because we bounced it back and forth, I was like, "I don't think I would change anything." So I was pretty happy with that, which, I mean, we did build it where it's integrated into the course, so, like, it knows what our group work concepts are, and, like, it knows what every lesson says, so it has our flair, but I was pleased to see that we didn't have to do, like, a lot of edit. I mean, I'm sure that only took you, like, 5 minutes to get a game plan once you did that too, you just put it in and boom, all of a sudden you've got maybe less than that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it took longer for me to, like, take notes from everybody, like, "Hey, how many dolls do you think you wanna bring? What's your experience level? Where are you at in the modules?" It took way longer to get all that information than it is to plug it in. You plug it in, you blink your eye, and it spits it back out. It's like, "Wow, is it really gonna be accurate as quick as it was?" And sure enough, I took a screenshot, like you said, sent it to you, and we read over it together, and it's like, there's really no edits, edit it as needed. Again, like I said, we
Yeah.
adjusted on the fly, but you had you had a really good blueprint of where you were heading for the day before the day started.
So you got up at 4 a.m. after you got your plan, everybody's rolling up, you're getting everything set up. You put a lot of work into it, clearly. I mean, to go and mow the grass and get everything set up, I mean, that's a blessing that you guys have that property. I know some have to meet at different places, even public grounds, but the fact that you have that is such a blessing. Let's do like a play by play of the day. Talk us through it. What was it like? And especially I mean, as your first time leading this, I mean, I'm sure in the back of your mind you have doubts and concerns, but also some excitement. So walk us through play by play.
Yeah, man. I mean, excitement was definitely there. I was looking forward to it. Especially as the day unfolded, especially as you started seeing the first lot of day coming through. It's like, okay, it's about to be game time. So I was excited. But the nerves that was there were more of the unknown. It's like, okay, anytime that you're doing something new, there's just going to be that unknown, and it's like, okay, the guys. So many people have said they're going to be there, and sure enough, everyone who said it was going to be there showed up, and that was wonderful. For everybody just
Wow.
to say, hey, count me in. And sure enough, they showed up just like they said they would. So yeah, I remember Cole, he came rolling in, and I was like, I seen the first truck coming up, and I was like, okay, he's a little bit early. And then, he got out, we introduced ourselves and started talking a little bit, and he lent us a hand to kind of finish up. And then everybody else just kind of, started rolling in. So yeah, the beginning of the day was very exciting. We sat around, we talked, we introduced ourselves, had to let the dogs get introduced to each other. I've got, like I said, I've got two dogs I'm training. One of my dogs has a very unique tendency. She's very withdrawn when she sees something new, whether there's new people or new environments, not so much, but new people, new dogs. And sure enough, I had the access to a couple side by sides, so we pulled the side by sides up. That way we could move people around. Like I said, there is two fields, and they're very short walking distance, 100 or so yards, but when we're trying to save time, it's a lot easier to load up the gear, load up the dogs, load up everybody, run them from one field to the next. And, so anyways, came up with one of the side by sides, had my dog there, and she jumps out. She's all excited. She goes around the corner. She sees everybody, and she just like stops, and you can see the tremble starting. And, so I was like kind of coaxing her through that. And she walked up. She kind of got used to the dogs. And like 10 minutes later, everybody's her best friend. That's kind of how she is. But that was what was really, really fun is as us as handlers are all meeting, us as members are meeting, saying hello, exchanging stories, getting prepared for the day. The dogs are there underneath the canopy, and it was actually just it was as soon as you arrive, you're almost into training immediately, because when you send your dogs to place and you put them on place, they have to be able to stay on place while we're off to the side talking, and with the temptation of other dogs. And of course, some dogs got down, some dogs got back up, but it was literally right off the bat. We were already training as soon as you pulled up, and that was what was wonderful. So yeah, man, that was kind of our starting point. And once everybody got there and we said our hellos and all, I made a little announcement. The first thing for us is, I told you we opened up with prayer. That's, I told everybody, I said, hey, I want to open up with prayer. I want to make sure that God's with us and looking over us. And, we had that discussion and we prayed, and everybody was ready to go after that, man. We went straight out I'm going to say it's about a 60 by 60 area, 60 yards by 60 yard area that I mowed down as flat as I could. That's where we parked at. That's where we set the canopies up. But we went straight up, made a single file line about 4 or 5 yards apart. And when we did that, we done some, I don't know the proper word for it. I call it almost like a zipper drill. I know you're going to know what I'm talking about. But it's where you take one dog and you walk them at heel and you zigzag all the way down to the end of the line. You come all the way back. And that was just a good, icebreaker for us, because at that
I
point,
like that. We're gonna have to name the drill the zipper drill. I mean,
yeah,
I
man, it looked
like
like a
that.
zipper. I liked it.
Yeah, we called it the S drill, but I kind of like the zipper drill better. Maybe we're gonna rename that. So if we,
Okay.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, well, I didn't know what the name of it. I was just like, it looks like a zipper. I'm gonna call it the zipper drill, guys. So hey, y'all, let's do the zipper drill. But yeah, man, we done that, and that was like the biggest pressure for me right there, because I'm like, for an example, Bo, he was one of the members that came, and with his dog, he's got an SOK lab, and that dog is he's currently pursuing his finish titled, and I was like, okay, he's very advanced. Is he gonna be okay with doing this? This zipper drill. This is kind of, I hate to say, more of maybe a beginner's thing, but but I was a little bit nervous, and I didn't know how the guys were going to take it, and I want to make a good first impression with them, not just as a member, but as their leader. To say, hey guys, I want to be able to set the tone right. So, anyways, I gave them the instructions. I started off kind of giving, saying, hey, y'all watch what I do. Your goal is to keep your dog at heel, and my goal is to walk the dogs in and out. Well, man, it worked out great, because so many dogs kept wanting to hop up, shift off. As I'm walking my dog, she wants to explore the other dogs. And I was like, okay, good. This is wonderful. It wasn't just a bust, it actually worked really well. So, that was a good icebreaker. And we went straight off the, what I call the zipper drill, to start doing some denials. Now, my dad was there, and I got him to assist us with that, because I am, again, working with two dogs, so it's a little bit hard to lead the group and work 2 dogs at the same time, so he was holding one for me at
Yeah.
heel. But yeah, I got my dad to get a bumper, and he walked up and down our line. Again, we're in a single file line facing out in the same direction, and my dad stayed about 10 to 20 yards from us, and he's constantly tossing the bumper. And we're making the dog sit, and I was like, okay, no dogs are breaking. Everybody's dog is steady because everybody's dogs are at that point that we're all pretty much at the least week 25 and beyond in the modules. And about the third toss, it was over with. The dogs couldn't take it no more. They started wanting to break. They started wanting to pull. My dog started wanting to pull and started trying to get it away. So it was great. I was like, okay, this is working really good. The flow is going good. We're setting the dogs up, immediately. So we're not just going straight into the more detailed training. We're doing more of a group training. So we've done the denials. Let's see, after the denials, we've done the marking, and that was another good one because now we've built on the fact that we let the dogs stay at heel. We got control of them. We got them introduced with each other with a zipper drill. We went from that to the denials, which is also setting a good tone. But then we built from there by doing the markings. What we done is we all lined up again as a group, and every other handler would take the bumper and toss it for the one about 2 places to the left. And when he would toss it, and you would send your dog out and come back, we had good success with those dogs going out and coming back to the handler. But what was
Yeah.
interesting is that other dogs were seeing these dogs go out and get a bumper, and it was driving some of them crazy. Again, I will 100% say my dog, she was biting at the bit. She's like, no, I'm the one supposed to be getting this bumper, not the other dogs. So she was getting happy with the feet. And these are things that I'm not used to seeing in our daily training. In our daily training, she's steady. I mean, she's like a rock.
Wow.
So bringing those other dogs in, having that group training was wonderful. I mean, it really helped break the ice. And I know I had a wonderful experience from it. The guys are giving me a lot of feedback saying they did too. So I'm hoping, that all went well for everybody. But yeah, after that, we went from there to our memory lines, and it's only 60 yards, but it's good for time sakes as well. We're on the line. So now we're letting our dogs go out to 60 yards, tossing, yelling, yes, mark, toss. We're walking them back. We're sending to retrieve. They have the temptation of the other dogs to the left. So there's some pressure there. But then they also had to be able to come back, and then we switch places. So, man, the icebreaker, I bet our first 45 minutes of training, maybe 30 to 45 minutes was in that. And it was a great setup. I mean, it really it set the tone. Everybody was having a good time. It was obvious the dogs were able to get good training in that. And that was just, yeah, as far as the play-by-play, that's kind of how we started. And we went back to the canopy. We set up, let the dogs kind of cool off because, again, even though it was just at the daylight, it was already hot. I seen tongues hanging down to their chest, and so it was like, all right, hey, water break. Let's get together as a group. Let's start trying to see, what we want to do moving forwards. And then as the dogs were cooling off, getting a little bit of water, I walked them over a couple of yards over, and I said, hey guys, here we go. I've got a 160-yard lane. I put out flags for us every 10 yards, and I set them off about 10 yards to the right in the grass, so the dogs wouldn't be distracted by it, but we could see. And that way, if somebody says, okay, my dog's only used to doing 30-yard retrieves, they know they can go 30 yards, and they can be pretty exact. So we lay down a place board, set up for that, and started doing lining memories. Well, Bo, he had a great idea. He said, hey, look, I want my dog to have that temptation to learn to be steady on the line because I am trying to get to that next title. I was like, okay, hey, that's great. Yeah, come over. So he goes over and sits next to me, and next thing I know, we're all doing it. We got a dog on the right, a dog on the left, and a dog on place board. And every handler could go to whatever they were comfortable, whether it was 30 yards or the full 160. And that's so that was our next drill line. We all took turns doing that. We'd have 3 dogs because we had 6 dogs. So we had 3 dogs getting some air, getting some shade, underneath the canopy on the porta cooler, and 3 dogs on place. And we would rotate those 3 dogs, and we'd rotate one up back over to the cooling area. We'll call it the cooling area, and then bring another dog in. So we built on that rotation, and until we got some good lining memories, and that was another great opportunity. And then kind of got back together and started building on what we were going to do next, and then moved on to the next part of it.
Wow. Man, that sounds like an amazing training day. I mean, flowed flawlessly. I mean, all the work that you put in, the thought that you put into it, that's incredible. What I think is so cool too is that I guess y'all had never really met in person, only on the live call, probably. So I think it's so cool that y'all were able to go from never meeting in person to still feeling like you know each other. And then all of a sudden now we're training dogs together, which I think makes a huge difference, right? If you're showing up somewhere for the first time and you've never met the people, you've never had a conversation with them, Yeah, that takes some warming up, but since you had already been connecting and sharing and growing on the live calls, it was pretty much just a natural extension to, "Hey, let's just train."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you get that final finally that in-person meeting, face to face, but you already knew everybody. You were used to seeing the faces, you was used to hearing the voice, you was used to, having conversations and, it wasn't like completely meeting a stranger. We had spent almost a year getting to know each other through the live calls, and sharing hunting
Wow.
stories and sharing posts as well, and sharing success stories in the app.
Man, I'm over the moon about it for you guys. I remember when I called you after, I gave you a little bit of time and you're telling me how it went. I was like, "Man, that's why I wanted to do this podcast specifically." It sounded like it went so great. So as we kinda we're running up on time. We'll have to do another episode where we kinda give more of your full story on your cornerstone story, how the training's gone, and then maybe we'll obviously share more about the chapter then. But I think to kind of to land us out, what would you say were some of the biggest highlights were, of the chapter? And specifically, like, who do you feel like is there anything worth shouting out, saying to share? I would love to just hear your thoughts on that, or even if it's not anybody in particular, maybe it was something in particular that, "Man, this was it for me."
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is the members showing up. There was we had Bo showing up, Jim, Bryson, Cole, and I was and myself as the four of the five members, and of course my dad was there to try to lend us an extra hand as well. Um, to put the chapter together and to put the event together, I could have went out there and done all the mowing. I could have done all the setup, but only having nobody show up or even one guy show up, it would been very disappointing. And it does happen sometimes. I mean that's just part of life and different events. But these guys, I couldn't thank them enough for them coming out, putting forth the effort, and on top of that, we had, like I said, a couple of guys driving almost 2 hours and one of them driving over 2 hours. They were very committed. They took forth the time to come to the event, participate in the event, and not only that, they didn't just put forth the effort to come in to be on the live calls, but while they were there, they brought in gear. Everybody we had so many bumpers. We bumper galore, and then on top of that, we had launchers, we had place boards, just all kind of great gear. So as a group of guys, they brought a lot of gear in. They were very, willing to share, gear with each other, and then put forth the ideas. Like I said, Bo helped us out with the idea of like wanting his dog to be there with us as we, done the lining drills, and then we all built off of that. Jim has actually put through 3 dogs completely through the Cornerstone program, and now he brought
Wow.
2 more in. And, yeah, Jim is
Wow.
really experienced in it, and on top of that, his 2 dogs were very young, and they're already so advanced, and he really knows the Cornerstone program well. Me, Bryson, and Cole have had a lot of conversations about hunting, and I finally got to meet their dogs and see how well they've trained their dogs. I mean, we all had that moment where dogs break, and I remember seeing Bryson's dog was looking for an orange bumper, and the orange bumpers are a little tough on dogs, and then Bryson got control of the dog whenever kind of got the dog back on track. Gave the dog the bumper and sent the dog all the way back to place at almost 100 yards. The dog goes all the way back to the place board from 100 yards, gets on
Wow.
place, sits, faces, waits for Bryson. And as hot as it was, with his tongue hanging to his back feet, he held on to the bumper the whole time, waiting for Bryson. And you saw the same thing with Cole working with his dog. So,
Wow.
Cole, everybody's just got. You can tell the Cornerstone program has really shaped us all up to where we have that in common, and we get to see where we can be, as a group. You kind of get the inspiration from guys as well. So yeah, man, all those guys couldn't thank them enough for their time of coming out, and they all seem very eager to come back out. We're already talking about doing an event in August. We're going to meet back up for another chapter meet and a training day, and we're doing it right before dove season. That way, we can all sharpen up and get ready to go. And because shortly after that, we'll get our early teal season, and of course, other hunting seasons that'll come in right after.
Man, it's hard to believe, that it's already taken off as it has, and it's going so well. So I'm excited for you, and man, I can't thank you enough for how well the job you're doing leading it. And I know you're doing it because you love it, but man, we're proud of you, and we're proud of each of the members that showed up and put the work in, and even for those that couldn't that participate on the calls. I mean, we love all that. So Also, I can't believe that hunting season is this close. I mean, 4th of July is over now, and now once that happens, it's like, all right, let's go. It's just right there on the horizon. We just got to keep going, and we're gonna get there. That's so cool that you're gonna meet up before. I'm sure that that will help you. I'm interested to hear, and we'll talk about on the next one, but hear how all that connecting together and prepping. I'm interested to see how that impacts opening day versus, a lot of times opening day for people is the kind of the icebreaker for the dog. But if you can do all that beforehand, there's no telling what open day is going to be like. So, man, we're excited for you and we're just proud of you. You are doing a great job in Augusta and you're doing a great job with Cornerstone, man.
Well, I dearly appreciate it. I'm glad to be part of it.